All right, let's meet the lineup. We have three silent killers here. They're all vascular events that strike fast, and they're very often mistaken for one another. But knowing the difference, well, that can literally be the difference between life and death. So let's dive in.
First up in our lineup is the cerebral infarction. You probably know it as an ischemic stroke or a clot-based stroke. Its game is pretty simple. It forms a blockage and cuts off precious blood flow to the brain.
Next, we have the myocardial infarction, or as it's more famously known, the heart attack. Think of this one as the stroke's cousin. It uses the exact same method, a blockage, but it targets a different organ, your heart.
And finally, the cerebral hemorrhage. This is a bleeding stroke. Now this one's a whole different beast. It doesn't just block, it breaks. It's more violent, and it has the highest fatality rate of all three. And here's the real problem we're trying to solve. People just can't tell them apart. And when a crisis hits, that confusion can be deadly. So how do they do it? What's their MO? Well, it really just boils down to two things: a blockage or a rupture. And understanding that simple difference is the very first step to telling these killers apart. Think of it like this. You've got two teams. On one side, you have the blockers. That's the cerebral infarction, which clogs an artery going to the brain, and the myocardial infarction, which does the same thing but to an artery in the heart. And on the other side, all by itself, is the rupture, the cerebral hemorrhage. It doesn't just clog a blood vessel, it actually tears it wide open. So what exactly is causing these blockages? Well, take a look. It's these guys. These tiny particles floating around in your blood, like LDL cholesterol. The source material has a fancy name for them: directly atherogenic. All that really means is that these are the little building blocks that create that nasty artery-clogging plaque. And right here, this is where that plaque buildup becomes a full-blown heart attack. You're looking at the coronary arteries. These are the crucial pipelines that feed your heart muscle with oxygen-rich blood. When one of them gets clogged by that plaque, a part of the heart muscle literally starts to starve and die. That, right there, is a myocardial infarction. But here's the good news. These killers, they don't always just show up unannounced. They often send out distress signals. You could call them SOS signals. And learning how to read them, that is the most critical skill you could possibly have. Let's start with our first blocker, the clot-based stroke. Now here's the key thing you need to know about this one. It often gives you hints, sometimes up to a full week before the main event. You have to think of these as little warning shots. These are the early warnings you just cannot afford to blow off. Things like reoccurring dizziness that comes and goes, or a sudden numbness that's only on one side of your body, or that really bizarre feeling that your arm or leg just isn't listening to your brain. These are often what's called mini-strokes or TIAs, and they're basically the brain's fire alarm warning you that the real fire is on its way. But when that real fire hits, when the full attack happens, the signs become undeniable. You might see a drooping or a crookedness in the mouth. Speech suddenly becomes jumbled, slurred, hard to understand, and there's a total loss of control over hands and feet. So you might be wondering, why those specific symptoms? Well, because a stroke is a brain injury. As you can see here, it's all about location. The stroke damages the brain's control center, and that affects the cranial nerves, the very nerves that control your face muscles and your tongue. And that's exactly why you see the drooping mouth and the slurred speech. It's neurological damage that you can see on the outside. Okay, let's switch gears to the heart attack. Now, unlike the stroke with its subtle early warnings, this signal is often sudden, it's intense, and it's pretty much unmistakable. The source material describes it as a crushing, oppressive pain in the chest. And that feeling, that is your heart muscle literally screaming for oxygen. The pain can even travel up to your jaw or down your arm because of shared nerve pathways. Your brain just gets confused about where the pain is coming from. You'll be short of breath, and here's the key, the pain is relentless. It lasts for more than 15 minutes, and taking medicine doesn't make it stop. All right, finally, let's look at the deadliest of the three, the cerebral hemorrhage. Remember, this isn't a slow blockage. This is a sudden, catastrophic rupture of a blood vessel inside your skull. And with this one, there are no early warnings. Its arrival is violent. It starts with a sudden, explosive headache, the kind people describe as the worst headache of their entire life. That's from the pressure just spiking inside your skull as blood pours into your brain. This is often followed by projectile vomiting, someone fading in and out of consciousness, and just a sudden dramatic drop in their ability to think. This is an absolute code red emergency. So, let's say you see these signs in a friend, a loved one, maybe even in yourself. What's the right move? Do you wait it out, see if it gets better?
Do you start Googling symptoms?
No. The answer is simple and it is non-negotiable. You don't wait, you don't hesitate, you get to a hospital immediately. Because time is brain tissue. Time is heart muscle. Every single second you waste is damage that you can never get back.
Okay, I know that was all pretty scary. But here's the empowering part. Now that we know how to spot the attack, let's talk about how to stop it from ever happening in the first place. You are not powerless here. You have a defense strategy.
This is your battle plan. It's a simple but incredibly powerful checklist for protecting your blood vessels. You want to control your blood pressure. That reduces the constant stress on your artery walls. You want to manage your blood sugar and keep your blood lipids, fats like cholesterol, in a healthy range. That stops the bad guys from building up plaque in the first place. And the lifestyle stuff is just as important. Cut back on smoking and alcohol, and please, try to get enough sleep. All of those things put a huge strain on your whole cardiovascular system.
And I really want to emphasize this next point, because the source material goes out of its way to highlight it. For preventing that most fatal one, the cerebral hemorrhage, controlling your blood pressure isn't just one of the keys, it is the single most important key, period. High blood pressure just pounds on your artery walls day in and day out, making a rupture so much more likely.
All right, we have covered a lot. We've met the killers, we've learned their methods, we've decoded their warning signs, and we've talked about your defense strategy. But if you remember only one thing from all of this, please make it this.
This is it. This is the ultimate takeaway. Recognizing the signs is step one, but acting on them without a moment's hesitation is what actually saves lives. So when these signals appear, don't wait. Don't second-guess yourself. Go to the hospital immediately. It's the most important decision you could ever make.